Hello guys and welcome back to my channel. I hope that you guys have enjoyed the last video. This is gonna mark my second video, and today in this episode we're gonna be looking at Illustrator again. We're gonna be producing a text effect that I called slice, but basically we're just gonna be grabbing the word, slicing it, giving it a 3D look and doing a couple of touches, and then at the end we're gonna be exporting our design into Photoshop just to give it a little bit of an extra spice to it, or details. But without further ado, let's just go ahead and get right into it, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Alright, so to get started, we have again here Illustrator, and basically I set up already my artboard. The artboard that I have here is 1920 by 1080, and I'm gonna be using these colors right here that you see. I'm gonna be putting on the link below the codes. That way, in case you really like this color palette, you can utilize it as well. But let's get right to it. So this layer right here, we're gonna call it colors, as that is the color palette. And then we're gonna create an additional layer. Okay, an additional layer. And we are gonna call it background. Okay, and for the background, we're gonna make a rectangle that's gonna start right here, and it's gonna be the size of the artboard. So you could just go ahead and leave it as that size, or make it yourself. But we'll go ahead and put it here, and the color that we're gonna be giving it is this salmon looking color, or light orange, if you may. All right, and now we can go ahead and lock this, and we can lock the palette as well and create an additional one where this is where all the magic is going to happen. This is going to be text, and we are going to go ahead and create the text as you saw. And on this video, I decided to add the keystrokes just so that way you guys can easily see what I'm doing with the keyboard. I would definitely recommend to get familiar with some of the keyboard shortcuts. That's gonna save you a lot of time during your designing. So let's grow this a little bit, and the word that we chose is slice. On this one, we'll grow it to about, I would say, right there. And the font that I want to use, let's go ahead and use this one. Now I want it to be a little bit thicker, so we're going to go ahead and increase the stroke size. And the stroke size, we're going to take it to right where about this point, right before this point hits the border of the S. So we'll give it 18. 18 is fine right there. The letters are a little bit close, so you can go into properties here and increase the distance between the letters. I would say right there is perfect. And now we're just gonna go ahead and object and expand the object. Now we expand it once, and we need to expand it again as we gave it a stroke or a border. So we'll go ahead and expand it again, fill in stroke, and then this will have, right now as you can see, there's 1, 2, 3 different shapes. So we want to make it just one. So we can go right here to Pathfinder, or this Pathfinder. It could be in properties or in Pathfinder, and go ahead and put it all together, which is called Unite. Now, after this, let's go ahead and give it a color, and we're going to give it the blue color. And all I did was press I for the eyedrop, and then just drag the eyedropper to the color that I wanted. So we're going to choose that color. Now, we are going to actually slice it. So in order to slice it, we're going to use the pen tool by hitting P, and we can do it around right here, and we're gonna slice it. I would say that looks good right there. So we press escape to release that, and press V to select the line, and we are going to give it a little bit of stroke and expand. So we expand everything, and as I get close, you can see that it made it a shape. And now we can grab the Pathfinder tool and unite. That way it's just one object. And now we are gonna grab slice, and slice, in order for you to be able to cut these two, you want to go ahead and make it a compound path. So in order to make a compound path, you can go ahead and go to object, go to compound path and make, or you can just use the shortcut that I also use all the time, which is Control 8. So Control 8. And if that happens, which sometimes it happens, I don't know, I don't understand why, you can just color it back again with the eyedropper and put it back there. So now we have that. We can go ahead and select both of the shapes, and we can utilize this shape mode here from Pathfinder that's called -front. And as you can see, after I click that, if we get really close, it sliced the word right there. So right now it's all one shape together. So in order to separate it, you right click and you're gonna go ahead and hit ungroup. And once we ungroup, then we can start selecting just the bottom part that we sliced. And using the shift in order to make the movement longer, because or else this is gonna take forever. So if you hold shift and just press down, you can get it there. And let's move it to the left. And I think, I think right there is about looks good. Let's see if we put it. Yeah, that's good. So we really sliced it. All right. So now we can go ahead and select everything and group it. And in order to group it, just hit Control G. And now we are going to go ahead and give it the 3D look. So in order to do that, we go to Effects, 3D, Extrude. So as you can see, this window comes up, the extrude option, and right here it gives you a interactive squared or cube that you can go ahead and actually move in order for you to move your text. So as you can see, I'm moving it. I'm trying to find a right location of there. That looks good. You don't have to be so perfect, and just go ahead and click OK. Once we click OK, then we can go ahead and expand the shape. So expand the appearance. Right click, ungroup. We want to go ahead and make it one shape. You don't want it to be a gradient. We want it to be one shape. So in order for us to do that, we got to make sure that all this is just ungroup. This is group, ungroup. And now we can go ahead and get started. So we are going to grab this, 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 and this right here and use the unite. All right, so now that we have all those parts united and we have it as a whole, we can go ahead and give the entire thing, the entire shape, a outline. So we'll just select it all and let's give it a 2-point border. Now, if I zoom in, you're gonna see in some of the points where the stroke actually gets all messed up. So in order to fix that, it's very simple. You hit stroke here, and on the corners, just select for it to give it a round joint clean look. And as you can see now, it fixes that issue. All right, so now that we have a outline, we want to go ahead and expand the outline. So we're going to go ahead and expand, and instead of it being an outline, it's going to become now a shape, and that's what we want. So as you can see, it highlights it, and this is going to take a little bit of time, but basically now what we're going to do is we have to separate the actual color shape to the outline. And in order to do that, you literally have to go right click, ungroup, right click, ungroup, and then it's going to release it. So then later on, when you select the color, you're just selecting the color and you're not selecting the outline. So let's go ahead and do it to the entire text. All right, so now that we have all of them separated, we can start giving it some of the color, right? So we're gonna go ahead and choose some of the darker sides. And as you can see, you'll be able to see, but basically I'm gonna choose the darker, where the darker side goes, and give it one color, and the ones that go on the front, give it a different color, a lighter color. So I'm gonna go ahead and choose. All right, and we are gonna hit I and give it the darker color. As you can see, I missed one, so let's add that one, an eyedropper, and I missed another one. Oh, okay, so right here, I chose the okay, and then for the rest, we are going to give it, which in this case is going to be the lime green. And let's see how it ended, and that's good. Now, in some of the contrast, as you can see right here, one of the things that I like to do is just give it a darker color, since they're like side by side. So I would just go here and darken it up a little bit and give it that contrast there. So we are going to do the same with this one and with this one. So eyedropper and that. So okay, now we can go ahead and move forward to making the shadow. So in order to make the shadow, all you have to do is select the entire text, hit Control-C to copy, and go ahead and hit on Pathfinder Unite. So once you unite it, you make it now the shadow, and you're making it one shape. So once you have that, you can give it the color that you want, which we are going to give it this darker orange. And we can go ahead and paste now the copied one, the one that we worked on initially. So by hitting Control F, you're going to place it on the front, so it'll appear there. And we have right behind it the shadow. So the shadow, we need to move it in order for it to give it that shadow effect. So we're gonna go to layers. We're gonna open up the layer we're working on, which is text. And we're gonna go and look for that compound path, which is the shadow, and click it. And now that we have it selected, we can go ahead and move it. So by holding Shift, okay, so that looks good. All right, so now if you look over here, the shadow should also stretch from this corner all the way here, same thing as here. So in order to make it realistic, we're gonna have to do those extra parts. And real quick, just go ahead and hit P for pen. And one of the things I like to do is to remove on view, remove the pixel, so that way it actually attaches to points. And we are gonna go ahead and select here, here, and then just quickly do a roundabout. So now, in order to actually make it attached to the other one, you basically just hit V for selection and hold Shift, select your other shapes that you did, and now we are gonna go ahead and attach it to that back shadow. So all you have to do is what we've been using, is go ahead and hit Unite. So now it put it up on the front, so we have to bring it back to the end. So if you go all the way up, you're gonna see the compound path, and you can just drag it all the way down. And we put it at the end. And that looks about right. All right, so now we are gonna go ahead and move to the next step. So now I wanna go ahead and give it a little bit of shine on the top to give it that contrast of the sun or the light coming in from the bottom. So we're gonna have a shine at the end. And in order to do that, we take out our handy pen, and by hitting P, and we're gonna change the color to white. And I'm gonna go ahead and get started. So I just click here, click back the anchor so that way it can stop the curving and then be able to stretch. All right, and at this point we pretty much have completed the entire effect in the 3D. So I mean, if you look at it, I mean, you could leave it just like this, and that could be, you know, a finished work. But like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, we are going to take it to Photoshop and be able to give it a little bit of more touch. So we're going to go ahead and grab the background and copy it. So Control C, and we're going to go to Photoshop. So Photoshop, we're going to create a new file, and if you copied it, it's going to give you to paste the same exact resolution that you have. So you can go ahead and do it, or you could just, you know, put the width and the height just like that and do it. And create. Once we create, it's going to open right here. You're going to touch right here where it says layers, and this is basically a very similar setup to Illustrator, but it does change this in some aspects. But you just have to follow my lead so we can just go ahead and do the small touches that we want to make, because we don't want to get too much into Photoshop. But we'll go ahead and paste it over here. So Control V. It's going to ask you if you want to paste it as a smart object, and yes, we're going to paste it as a smart object. Now we're going to go back to our Illustrator, and now we want to grab the text. So in order to do that, we're going to lock the background again, and now we can't touch the background, and we're going to select our entire slide. So we can go ahead and grab that, Control Copy, and we go back to Photoshop and click here. We're on the open part of layers, and we are going to go ahead and hit Control V. Yes, we want to paste it as a smart object, and now it appears right there. So one of the things that I want to go ahead and do is give it a little bit of shadow right here at the beginning, so that way it has a little bit more contrast within the line. So in order to do that, we are going to go ahead and create a new layer. You can just hit Control Shift N. This layer, we are going to call it shadows. Hit OK, and it appears right here. But we want to go ahead and mask the effect for it to apply just to the wording, right? So the wording is right here. So we're going to go ahead and hold Alt, and as you approach the line between them, this appears here, and basically you're just masking it to that. So now as we apply any of the effect, it's going to only happen to the text. So now we can go ahead and go to the brush tool, and we are going to select that soft round is good, and we wanted it to be black. So it is black, so we can just go ahead and leave it like that. And we can go ahead and I'm going to put a little bit of effect there, and there. Now it's a little bit too bold, so we're just going to go into opacity here and decrease it about 60 seems right. All right. Another thing that we want to go ahead and do is do shines to it. So we are going to go ahead and create same thing, Control Shift N, and that layer we're going to call it shines. Hit OK, and the shines obviously are going to be white, so we'll just go here to color and be able to pull the white. This one right here, soft round pressure size, and we are going to decrease and put it right about here. All right, so I don't want to put too much and just do it over the top, so that seems good to me. Opacity, and start decreasing. Let's put it around 70. Let's see, that's good, and decrease it a little bit more. That seems about right. And one of the effects that looks cool, and I learned this from another YouTuber, is to give it a little bit of noise, so that way, you know, the actual texture of the colors is not so solid, and it gives it a little bit more character. So one of the ways that you can do that is by creating an adjustment layer, and you just go here, you create a solid color. We want to go to a color of about gray. All right, and hit OK. and we're gonna go to filter and give it a noise, add noise. This is gonna pop up and we can just go ahead and hit rasterize, and 80% looks good, so we'll just go ahead and hit OK. And we are going to decrease the opacity, so I'll increase it from the bottom. 6 is about right. Now, as you can see, you have a little bit of noise in your picture, which from far away makes it look a lot better. And then the last thing that I want to do here is go ahead and change some of the color. So I'll just go to curves and then click here and start moving it until you feel that it's about where you want it. Just want to deepen the colors a little bit. All right, so that brings us to the end of the video. I hope this wasn't too difficult. I hope that the keys on the actual screen helped you out decipher a little bit more what I get to click sometimes if you're just learning Illustrator. If you used Illustrator before, you know that those shortcuts are definitely an essential part to your functionality and just to be able to be more efficient on everything that you do. I really hope that you liked it. I'm coming out with more material for Illustrator. Please, if you like this video, go ahead and hit subscribe and make sure that you hit the bell. That way you get notified whenever I come up with new material. And then also like the video. Like the video if you liked it. And if you got lost in any of the steps and you just couldn't figure it out, go ahead and leave your comment below so that way I know and I can answer any of your questions, because my goal here is to obviously make it easier for you to be able to get around some of the parts of learning the entire software, right? Sometimes we don't want to do that. Sometimes we just want to focus on one small project, and then maybe later on, as we start getting some experience, then we move forward to the next thing. But thank you guys for watching. Again, my name is Juan Ortiz, and see you on the next video.